No, no! No! Are you listening?
Man, oh man, Lorne is consistently exposing the insanity of Mr. Penis, aka the owner and proprietor of the Trailer of Failure, aka the Nashville Maniac, aka Lorne Armstrong. Last night, a call premiered in which Will, who is Jamie Amy's best friend, and Lorne get in an argument that is so ridiculous, I had to talk about it. For those of you who don't know, Jamie Amy is a porn star who supposedly lost her voice due to COVID, and Lorne has to awkwardly talk to her through a male robot voice. A robot voice he had to propose to, and a robot voice he has to listen to sexual exploits being discussed. At one point, Jamie reveals to him that she's late for her period, and we get to hear a defeated Mr. Penis. This is so good. He has to say to her, I thought he was only going to do you in the rear. Lorne Armstrong, who at one point freaked out when Winnie had any guy around her, or she needed some kind of medical care, or Ramona was having a doctor's hand on her knee, is now so desperate that he's okay with Jamie Amy banging 1,000 guys, which he swore would be the worst thing that could ever happen to her when she got a husband, and now he's proposing to her. Oh my God. Anyway, moving on. During the conversation with Will, Lorne started getting angry because Will, who is Jamie's best friend, was asking Jamie questions about her life. And normally when you talk to your best friend, relationships will come up. If they're having a problem, they'll give you a call. Now, Mr. Penis said he didn't have a problem as long as Jamie was the one coming to Will. But Will wasn't apparently allowed to go and talk to Jamie Amy and ask. So Will would not be able to say, hey, Jamie, how are you? Oh, you look down. Is it your relationship? How's it going? This is a hallmark of an abuser. You guys know that. I know it. He doesn't want anyone to have access to the person who's being abused. He wants to cut off the victim from the outside world. He wants only Jamie to be able to offer up information. And Will brought up a good point. He said, Jamie's not going to tell me this because she knows how you react. And then Will pointed out how Lorne was reacting to him on the phone call. But of course, Lorne, he won't admit that he's a manipulative, abusive psycho who should be on Lamictal or some other mood stabilizing, brainwave, brain pattern stabilizing medicine. So Will and Lorne got into it, and Lorne did something that a bipolar person does. They use the words always and constantly. And he kept going back a couple months to something that happened. And Will kept saying, here we go again. We're going back to the very beginning. And it was a vortex. They just kept going back to it. And Lorne would say constantly, always. Then Will would call him out for saying this only happened one time. And then Lorne would go, yeah, well. But in his head, constantly and always is the truth, because he is constantly and always referencing that every day. He thinks about it. Whenever there's something going on with Jamie, those things come up. So if you replay things in your head, you're going to say constantly and always. It's a hallmark, a trademark of someone with bipolar. So no matter what Will said, Lorne kept saying, this is a relationship between me and Jamie, not me, Jamie, and you. And I'm not marrying you. It's not going to be me, Jamie, and you. It's going to be me and Jamie. Of course it is, Lorne, because you know, as soon as you got Jamie to your trailer, as soon as she was your prisoner, it was over. It was game on. You would cut her off from the outside world. She'd never speak to anyone again. She'd never have the opportunity to make money. And you would tell her things like, we have all we need right here. We love each other. And right before he calls her, every name in the book. At the end of that phone call that Lorne premiered last night, he was crying and telling Jamie that he loved her. There was something, I don't know. I'm guessing they were talking through claps. And I want you to think about this. Lorne Armstrong was apparently talking to a woman to the sound of clapping. I think that's what was happening. I'm not sure. My son was up and I was listening to it in headphones, but I was also listening to him tell me about something. That's where we're at, folks. We're at that level of desperation. And I hope one day Lorne just says enough with the catfish. I'm going to live out what life I have left. I'm going to try to get my life in order. I'm going to try to go out. And now, you know what? Why am I even saying this? He's going to always milk unemployment. He's going to milk food stamps or whatever else he's on. Because he's lazy enough to where if he can get it for free, he's going to get it for free. So I don't think he'll ever get his life in order. And I think we're going to consistently see this kind of control from him about who can call who. You're only allowed to talk about my relationship when she brings it up. You can't go ask her about it. Will is living in the same house, so he overhears a lot of it. But Lorne expects Will to have the door closed when he's there, so he can't hear what's going on. He can't hear the abuse. And there's no chance of Will's penis slipping out of his pants and going inside of her. The guy I told you about, the guy who lost his virginity in his 40s and has cameras all over the compound, and his family has to stay on the phone when they go on a trip. He went crazy yesterday because he watches his cameras all day. He's got them up on the side. One of the cameras was knocked over by a cat. The one that was in the hallway pointing towards the bedroom. He was pacing, counting down until work was over so he could go home and fix it. He could go home and find out exactly what's going on. Now, his wife works during the day. His kids are at some kind of summer camp. But he is still that psychotic. And that's how Lorne would be if he could afford those cameras. And if he could afford everything else, he would be monitoring 24/7. Put me on mute, go to work, we'll stay on the phone. He's scary. When you start trying to control who can ask what and who can talk to who and where a person has to stay in the house, there's a problem. And to think in his head, he believes this is the way to a woman's heart and a normal way to act. It just highlights how far gone he is. Anyway, check that call out on Heelborn's channel. I love you guys. Please like, subscribe, and share. I'll see you in the next one.
No, no!